Hi, friends. Welcome to Race to Rise podcast, a place where we discuss bite sized wisdom nuggets with easy to follow practices to live a better life. I am your host, Mital Patel, a parenting junkie, Ayurveda enthusiast, and an advocate of conscious living. Last week, I had an amazing opportunity to work with one of my mentors on, how can I serve more parents? How can I, impact more parents? And while we were doing the exercises and it was like a live event, 5 hours a day for 3 days. And it was such you know, it had a momentum and it was a great to work with mentor on one-on-one as well as, with the intimate group of entrepreneurs. So it was an amazing opportunity. While I was working on my assignments and, on my clarity questions and something, it was about the pain points of the parents that I want to work with and whatnot. I was doing exercise and I was trying to write this sentence and I was kept on typing and, sharing all my thoughts and why I want to do it, whatnot. And in that one of the exercises, I had a light bulb moment where I actually unmuted myself and I asked my mentor, can I share something? I just had an aha moment. And she goes like, sure. And I said, because the way I work, the way my mind works is like, I have to, if I talk it out and hear myself, it makes more sense to me. And so when I was telling them the aha moment, I didn't realize how important this one piece of information that I neglected. I just didn't pay attention that that's what I'm trying to, share with parents. And so today I want to share that one piece of that aha moment that I had during my conversation with my mentor. And it was about effective communication. Yes, I said yes, that's the missing link. Because I believe that as parents, we have an incredible role, an opportunity, and we have a huge purpose in our life. A meaningful relationship is a parent-child relationship, right? We're here because our kids are watching us and, they're looking up to us. We are the first role model for them. And so of course, it gives us a huge pressure, but at the same time, it's like, I get to do this, right? It's that feeling that I get to, impact my child. I get to work with the little human being. I get to influence his inner world. I get to give him inner voice. And when we look at from that perspective, I get to do this. I get to communicate with my kids. I get to cook for them. I get to drop them to school. When you change that phrase, it gives us a huge, it gives us a meaning and it gives us a fulfillment. And so, but in all of that, there is this one piece, there is this link, and it's effective communication. If the communication goes wrong, it just takes a huge turn. And so because we parents have a challenging leadership role, we really need to work on our communication. And so in general too, like if we talk about just a regular day, let's say not just being a parent, but, just in regular day when you work or, when you go for grocery shopping or when you're out and about with anyone, it is about communication, right? So when we communicate, and of course, throughout our day, we communicate with a number of different people, right? We communicate with our kids, we communicate with our partners, our colleagues, our bosses, and so on. But unfortunately, many of our conversations end up badly. Irrational conflicts often arise, and we end up leaving the conversations feeling overlooked or in despair. Like, now tell me I am not alone. This happens all the time. It's a nature of life because, communication. We have to communicate. And so how can we communicate effectively and how can we communicate, become a compassionate communicator? That's what's important. So, and when we become compassionate communicator, guess what? The parenting becomes simpler. I wouldn't say it becomes easy, but it definitely becomes, simpler. And so we all know that just having conflicts throughout the day because of communication is not the way we want it to be, right? Or nor does it have to be. And so avoiding these situations is exactly what today I want to share. And I really want to share this concept of nonviolent communication that I learned a while ago, and how can we apply this in our everyday life to maintain and perhaps even improve our relationship, not just with our kids, but also with our partner or coworkers or parents or anyone in general, friends, family, anyone, right? So without taking a further ado, let's dive in. So how we just looked into it earlier that in society, communication is a fundamental building block of everyday life. If we want to function well in our relationships, we need to learn how to communicate, right? We need to learn how to communicate effectively. And unfortunately, we tend to use a language that cuts the flow of communication and even worse, sometimes harms us and the person we're speaking with. And this happens. It's just inevitable. It happens when our words put up walls instead of creating bridges. For example, calling your child a picky eater for not eating the broccoli that's on a dish, right? It's a judgmental statement, or it's a judgmental phrase that creates defensiveness. But what if instead of naming or, shaming them, how about we look into how can we motivate our child to eat the broccoli, or how can we find a solution instead of calling them picky eaters? And so I truly believe that our languages, our words makes a huge difference. The word that you choose. So instead of calling them picky eater, you may say, my child is selective of what he wants to eat or what she wants to eat, right? So it all depends on the words that we're choosing. And actually, I was shocked when I learned that there was a study that was done at the University of Colorado where they studied like random fragments of the world literature from different countries, and they looked for words that judged people like good and bad. And they found that the countries with more judgmental words in their literature also had a higher number of violent incidents. And so it was concluded that the cultures that label people as good or bad reinforces the idea that bad individuals deserve punishments, and which contributes to violent incidents, right? And of course, in our space, we know that we don't do punishments, right, with our kids. And that's why this is one of my thing in my house that I've been trying to, teach my kids, that there's no such thing as good and bad. Like the bad, that what society teaches us, like this is bad, there's no such thing as good or bad. There are no two sides. I truly believe, and I follow that, spiritually as well. There is no good or bad. It's just the way we look at things, right? When we don't understand the other party, or why the person is doing, it just comes out. So we don't need to be judgmental about their choice. It's maybe the circumstances made them make the choice. Maybe something happened. We don't know. All we can do is empathize and maybe give a different meaning from our perspective, or try to understand what the other person. This is where the true human core needs come, like, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, and wanting to be understood, right? So that's what everybody's asking. And so I was really shocked to read that study that, it just happens. And that's why we need to learn to communicate effectively and choose our words, choose our vocabulary carefully with kids specifically, because I truly believe that our words becomes their inner world. Yes, again, I'm going to say this again. As parents, let's remind ourselves that our words becomes our kids' inner worlds. Did I twist my tongue? Anyways, but that's the reality. I truly believe that, the language that we use becomes their inner voice. And so we need to be more proactive about what we say, when we say, how we say. And what is that? That is effective communication. And so in order for us to communicate effectively, we're going to have to develop vocabulary, right? And when we choose the words wisely, we also understand, and we also identify what's our need as well as what's the other person's needs. So for example, in the previous example, when we said that, when we called a child picky eater, the need of a parent is that, of course, a parent, like, for example, I really want my child to be healthy, and so I want my child to pick healthy food, and so I want to make sure that he is eating his vegetables. Where the child's needs could be that he doesn't like it, or it doesn't feel inside, he's not feeling good about the broccoli. Maybe it could be the texture, maybe it could be the way it looks. It could be tempting that he just doesn't like that whole green thing and he thinks he's eating a tree. That's what my little one told me once, that I don't want to eat this tree. And so it could be that, of course, it could be anything. So understanding our child's need and understanding our need or our wants is what bridges the gap. And we can only bridge this gap if we allow our kids to express their needs, express their emotions, right? And of course, expressing emotions is never straightforward, especially when they're negative. And it just doesn't come natural to us. And since it doesn't come natural to us, I'm going to share this one tool that, the powerful method that I learned, and it's been working great with, with my kids. It's called nonviolent communication. The main strength of this approach is that it helps us communicate our feelings clearly. And it does in 3 steps. First, by encouraging us to observe objectively. Second, it helps us identify our needs. And third, it helps us communicate compassionately. Let me share it with the practical example. For example, if you have a child who is, playing in the living room and they leave their toys after their play, and the entire living room is just so messy. And what you have to do is every day, over and over, yell at them to clean them up, or, just scream at them and remind them over and over. And of course, you don't want to do this. So simply use this nonviolent communication strategy. So first, what we're going to do is, because this happens in my house all the time, and so I have tried and tested this approach, and it works. So first, what you do is you start by simply observing the situation. Yes. Okay, what's happening is my child is playing, and he's got all the toys out in the living room, and the living room is so messy and it's not organized. Okay, that's what's happening. Next, try to sense how you're feeling when you observe the situation. So, are you scared for your child's safety? Or are you angry that you have to repeat yourself over and over? Or are you frustrated that you will have to end up cleaning this? Or what is it? What are you feeling? And once you identify that, once you question yourself and once you identify that, you might realize that you're frustrated and irritated, and you now know the need to, identify the needs that emerge from these feelings. For example, the need from the feeling could be that your need might be that you like to have an organized living room, an organized, toy baskets. But before you say anything to your child, and before you just abruptly of course, get mad or yell at them. Think about how can you influence your child to help you make your life better, but also without hurting them, without shaming them, without blaming them, right? How can we do this? So when you're ready, from an honest and clear and compassionate request, go to them. Initially, what I used to do is I used to write it down. That what am I gonna say, right? Because sometimes it's just so hard. So take a break, observe it, take a break, identify your feelings, identify your needs. And then the third step is you communicate with compassion, right? So how can you make that compassionate request? For example, hey, Anai, when I see your toys in the living room all over, I feel so frustrated because I really like to, it hurts my eyes. I like to see everything. I like to see your toys organized. So how can we make this possible? And, just leave it at it. Just wait. What you get in response is going to be magical. So today, I really want you to try this, whether it's the messy living room, messy bedroom, messy kitchen, or whether it's about, not getting them ready on time, not getting up early in the morning now that school's all started and, the new school year, not doing their homework on time, whatever it is. Use these 3 steps of non-violent communication. So what are these 3 steps again? First, we're going to observe the situation. Second, we're going to identify our needs. And third, we're going to communicate with compassion. So try it out with your kids at home. You can try this out with your coworker at work, with your boss, with your partner, anyone. Try it out and let me know how you're handling this. DM me on Instagram, message me on Facebook at Rise with Mittal. You can email me at risewithmittal@gmail.com. You can simply leave a review on this podcast. I would love, love, love to know how your communications is going and how you're putting this into practice. That's it for this week's episode of Race to Rise. Be sure to sign up to our email list at risewithmittal.com and join us again next time for more wisdom about life, kids, and everything in between. I am Mittal Patel, wishing you happy raising and rising.